Today on the pod, we have Ian Murphy, the president of BosleyMD. He is a seasoned global beauty business executive with over 30 years of expertise in roles ranging from marketing to sales to international business development. He is no doubt a trailblazer within the category and has represented many beauty conglomerates such as Redken, Wella, Bio Ionic, and now currently at BosleyMD, which is the thinning hair authority. We're going to get into all of that today. But he is responsible essentially for global strategy, brand vision, innovation, go-to-market strategy, and really guiding the robust teams over at BosleyMD through instilling values of consistent innovation, working with integrity and honesty and a passion to inspire consumers' confidence. He is leading the way for further success at BosleyMD. So welcome to the podcast here at Volume Up on the Tees. We are so delighted to have you.
Hey, Kelly, glad to be here. Appreciate the invitation.
You bet. So we're gonna jump in. We're gonna get to know you. Jump back 30 years, I should say. Tell us a little bit about why and how you got started in the salon professional industry.
Oh, 30 years. I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier when you did the whole Platinum Jubilee take there. But this is the Platinum Jubilee take right now. Anyways, it was very entertaining, by the way.
Thank you.
But anyhow, yeah, I didn't really plan to be in this beauty industry. When I was in university, De Montfort University, which is in the city of Leicester, right in the middle of England. And I had an Air Force scholarship. I was acting pilot Officer Murphy at the time.
Whoa.
And flew 44 hours, flew solo. They let me in a plane on my own.
Whoa.
Imagine that. And I got back down safely. But I realized it really, the service life wasn't for me. It was part of my family, same as yours, in the hairdressing and beauty. But my dad was in the American Air Force. My grandfather was in the British Army, and there was all this background. But for me, I was more interested in traveling and finding out what this America thing was all about, because my dad, of course, was American.
All right.
So deciding not to go into the Air Force after my university career, I actually got on a plane and visited some friends and family out here on the West Coast. And I think it was the middle of probably February, and I found myself in a hot tub in California, looking up at the sun, saying, "Why am I not living here when it's like raining and cold back in England right now?" There's something not right here. And that's where the seed of an idea was born. I was like, I have to find companies who are out here. Well, it actually, then when I got back, I actually found an American company who was based in my hometown in England, which is Northampton.
Okay.
Very old city that goes back thousands of years and so forth. But anyhow, the headquarters for Europe of Avon were located there.
Oh, no way. Wow.
And I just on spec, I interviewed for a job, and the guy that was interviewing me was an American from my dad's hometown in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. And he took one look at me and said, "Sure, when do you want to start?" So that was my entree into the beauty world. But after a couple of years of Avon, I realized that it wasn't quite dynamic enough for me, and I really wanted the chance to live and work in America. And as it turned out, on a return trip to Los Angeles, I found out that Redken were based in LA, albeit North LA, because a friend of mine was running a salon back in the UK, and she said, "Oh, here's this Redken product, and it says Los Angeles on the back, and we go to have these seminars now and then. They seem like good people. You should apply for a job there." So I did, and I got it. And, they actually had a job for me in the UK in their head office there, and that's where I began.
Okay.
And it was very, very interesting because, I'd come from this military background and then into this very retail, door-to-door marketing company, Avon. And then I walk in the door to Redken UK. Everyone's hugging each other. I'm like, what's wrong with these people?
It's a little too close.
What's going on here? But it was just, it was a great experience. I think the biggest thing I loved about Redken when I started there was the products really worked. And there was such a great story and a heritage, and the science behind the beauty, of course, was part of their story back then. And it was just a great experience.
Okay.
Which led to a much bigger opportunity because, of course, as many of us know, they were one of the first big beauty acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
And I was only about maybe 18 months into my tenure at Redken UK, and suddenly they get bought by L'Oreal.
Yeah.
And the international president at the time, Scottish man by Arthur Long, brilliant guy, and opened up doors for, I think, many of us in the past in our career journeys. And he had said, hey, I'm not going to do a bad Scottish accent. He said, you know, young lad, would you like to come over and join us in America? It's a fantastic opportunity. I was like, yeah, I'll come to California. He says, well, actually, it's going to be New York. I was like,
okay, not as sunny. Yeah.
No, you know, but I took the opportunity, and it was a real eye-opening world into what I would call is the University of Beauty, which is L'Oreal.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and so many people get opportunities to build their career there because it really is just an incredible place to get a foundation on beauty and all things beauty and all different disciplines, whether it be operations, finance, marketing, sales, you name it. It's there for you if you want to go and learn. So that was my trip across the pond.
That's amazing. And so from there, then you spent some time at a handful of other brands. Tell me about you know, that journey and kind of that process as well.
Yeah, no, look, you know, I'll be quite honest. My first entree living in New York really didn't feel like it was for me. And I went in and chased another opportunity, but it crashed and burned. You know, not everything works, you know, when you the way you draw it up. And my path bounced back to New York again because, albeit across the Hudson River in New Jersey, because I was extended an opportunity to work for Wella at the time, who of course were individually owned before the P&G days. And it was a brand that was really on the rise at the time. It was transition because Mario and Elder Argenti were running the brand. And then suddenly, you know, I got in the door, and about a month later, all change happened, and him and her, they're out. And suddenly, this German guy, Karl-Heinz Pitch, is in the door, and you know, everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, we're being taken over by," but you know, the Germans are coming, and Karl-Heinz Pitch turned out to be one of my biggest supporters, mentors.
Amazing.
Just someone to really learn from, and still stay in contact with him, still meet with him occasionally. And he's just a real, just an excellent guru in the world of hair color and business in general.
Yeah. So then were you there with the P&G acquisition?
Just prior.
Just prior.
Yeah, you know, that was an interesting time. I was at Wella for 6 years. I started as a brand manager, and I got promoted 4 times to vice president of marketing. Ended up it was kind of like a bittersweet moment when the company decided to kind of merge, if you want to call it merge, but join under one roof with Sebastian and Graham Wella. About a dozen of us out of 150 were selected, offered positions on the West Coast. So it was sad in some respects to leave so many of our friends behind. But it was exciting to start this new chapter with the company in Woodland Hills, California, where the original head office of Sebastian had been, and Graham Webb folks, and they joined us and so forth. But the brand was growing real fast. And then again, you know, change is constant, and change happened, and there were 100 plus employees let go pretty much on one day. And myself, who was the vice president of brand marketing for Wella, and also my opposite number, a lady called Rafaela Kirschnick, who was running Sebastian at the time, were the first 2 out the door. I'll be like, well, what happened? We just moved across country, and we grew this brand. And suddenly, nobody was told, and then, like I said, 100 odd other people were pushed out as well. Don't you know? And then, of course, the truth came out shortly after that the company was readying itself for acquisition. And then the P&G chapter came up.
Got it. So you finally got your chance in LA, right?
I know.
Wonderful.
And I was loving life, and then of course that came to an abrupt halt. But luckily, you know, a previous colleague, and this is why I think it's a cliche in this industry, but you just can't, burn too many bridges because
For sure.
it's again, another cliche. It's such a small industry at least on the pro side. But you only know that after going through it for a number of years. It's not, people tell you that, and when you're in your 20s, like, yeah, whatever,
Right.
But until you get slapped around a bit, sometimes you're like, oh, hang on a second, I really need to, watch what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And so I was fortunate enough to come across a couple of entrepreneurial owners of a tool company called Bio Ionic.
Yeah.
And Kay and Fernando Romero, great people. You can't get two more extreme individuals who are married and owners. Kay was this beautiful ex-Japanese model with an incredible creative aesthetic, and then Fernando, of course, was this flamboyant Mexican hairdresser who would one minute was jumping off cliffs in Mexico for money in Acapulco. Next minute he's working as Vidal Sassoon's assistant in Beverly Hills, and he had an incredible story himself. And so together with other folks like the general manager at the time, Jay Jacobs, so we had a great team. We built this brand from what used to be like an old school, like a hairdryer, into this incredible tool that now was selling for $300 in Sephora. Wow. And the company really jumped and grew, and in the end got acquired. It was a great story, and a great family there as well. They had 3 boys working in the business as well. Oh, wow. So it was a very tight company, but it was one of the, there has been so many of those brands in our professional business that were family, entrepreneurial, and then of course one by one they all got kind of gobbled up. Not many of them left, but there was an interesting time there, I think, the last 30 years of those, challenger brands.
Yeah, such an evolution. And now challenger brands are everywhere, right? Indie, challenger, they're popping up everywhere. So certainly kind of grassroots, you experienced it when that started. So then in your career, you land at BosleyMD. Tell me about how your current role, how you landed your current role.
Yeah, it got sandwiched really, because I was consulting and came across a couple of people in the beauty industry. Jim Morrison was one, and Rick Hogan, who owns one of the biggest and best manufacturing locations here in California, and Harlan Kirshner, of course, who is an icon himself in the PBA world and so forth. So I'd come together with them and said, hey, I think there's an opportunity for a Pepsi to the Coke. I mean, we can find an alternative to Nioxin here somewhere. A lot of distribution shifts were going on as well between our big mega distributors, Salon Syndic and Beauty Systems Group. And so together with a gentleman called Eric McLemore, we built a baby, which was at the time Bosley Professional Strength. And that was the essence of getting the hairdresser to prescribe thinning hair solutions. So I helped get this brand off the ground and into distribution. However, I was getting a number of other opportunities surfacing at the same time as well. And one of them was actually in response to my family wanted me to be closer to the UK, because LA is 11-hour by plane and 8 hours behind on the clock. And so because of my mother and other people having some medical issues in my family, I actually ended up, believe it or not, moving back to New York to be closer to home.
Wow.
But landed an incredible opportunity. I was the AVP of Garnier, running the hair color business. And it was an incredible opportunity to be on the other side of the fence from the professional side, where all I'd known was, tube to color, building brands, working with hair colorists. And suddenly, of course, on the other side, it's like, how do we package that into a box and get a consumer to not go to the salon?
Right.
It's like the anti-pro. So taking learnings and it's like being a double agent almost. But
totally.
And I had a great time learning so much of that retail world and so much more of that direct to consumer experience, which would serve me so much well in the future, now that this and the internet came along and kind of leveled the playing field. So fast forward to about 3 or 4 years ago, I got a call back from the owners of Bosley, at the time Bosley Professional Strength, said, hey, market's changed, the products are changing, the distribution has shifted, can you come back to finish the work that you started launching this brand. We want you to come back as the president. We want you to come back and build this thing and blow it up. And because we really think it's a big opportunity. And they were right, because, you know, if you think about the last 10, 20 years of this category, thinning hair was so much more male dominated.
Right.
You know, even go back to those early Nioxin years, you know, you get a little plug that came in the box, you put in the shower, you count your hairs. Not sure many women want to do that. They better check the hairs in their brush. But it was a situation back then. Again, there were solutions, but it was mainly for men. And there was this thing called DHT, and this, you know, that was told it was a hormone that would stop your hair growing and micronize it and force it out prematurely. So, question is, you know, what has changed? And so when I walked back in the door here just over 3 years ago, I had to really think about, you know, where is she or he shopping for these products today? Because it's definitely become a gender inclusive need and therefore solution. So that was one of the things. And if you look today, I mean, you could buy thinning hair products in, you know, in everywhere from Target to QVC, Ulta, Amazon. Of course, we wouldn't have survived without Amazon the last few years with the pandemic. And you know, but still, the mainstay was you know, the salons, and because, you know, they're the biggest influencer at the end of the day. You know, we can spend thousands of $1 million on influencers, but really the hairdresser is the influencer when you're sitting in the chair and they're like, oh, you got a problem here.
Right.
So we still are very much entrenched into that stylist recommended position. But what I did bring to the forefront with this new look of Bosley was the MD portion, which makes our brand different and credible, because, you know, as you know, Kelly, Bosley's been around for years, and it's always been on TV with doctors in a white lab coat saying, "Oh, we know how to get your hair back." And so, building on that doctor-centric story, what we did was almost put a lab coat on our bottle and say, "Okay, we are Bosley. Well, we're a doctor in a bottle."
Yeah.
But you know, the other angle on this was, you know, no longer is this thinning hair world about a shampoo. It's only one part of the equation. You know, and I look at what our #1 selling SKU was at Ulta last year. It's a vitamin for women. Who would have thought that a supplement from a so-called salon brand would be the #1 top selling item?
Wow.
And the same goes for, you know, hair regrowth treatments. In our top 4 or 5 SKUs now, it's minoxidil. You know, the only clinically proven regrowth treatment. And it's 50-50 now. We look at our Amazon metrics. It's women and men right there. So you know, things have changed in a big way.
They have changed. Yes. And so smart to credentialize. You know, I love that you put the lab coat on the bottle, because, you know, when you think about, as women, hair thinning and loss, I mean, there's certain phases of your life that it can happen, you know, after childbirth, you know, menopause, all of the things, hormonal changes. And so it is a very, very scary thing because your hair is so much of your identity. And so it's been interesting to see, interesting to hear that now it's more of a 50-50 split, you know, with women versus men, because I think we're talking about it more. Do you? Like it's a topic that's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And for women, the 3 big buzz areas are postpartum, PCOS, and alopecia, which of course we saw at the Oscars recently.
We did. We saw all of that. Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But postpartum, you know, before we came on here, I mean, I did a quick, you know, one of your questions, I think later on, it's like, well, what have you Googled most recently? Well, I TikToked.
Amazing.
I TikToked postpartum.
Yeah.
And, you know, as of this morning, there are over 500 million views on postpartum as a hashtag alone. And postpartum hair recovery is a big one also. It's 500 million. I mean, it's such a big issue that wasn't really acknowledged before. It was like, you know, get on with it.
Yeah, it was literally like, if you pull it back and think about all the changes that you go through, and then you have a child, and then your body's changing, and then in the shower, your hair is falling out as well. It's a dark place. I mean, it's a lot to take in. And so I love that the hairdresser, as you mentioned, is the ultimate influencer, because who else would you recommend? I mean, there's so many things out there with so many claims, but as far as, you know, who is that person to recommend that you're trusting, and having that audience with the hairdresser is really, really important.
Yeah, I mean, the next in line is the doctor or a derm. They're the other key people, and then of course key opinion leaders. But I think the key is, we recently had an influencer talk about her postpartum experience, and she talked about how after using the Bosley product, she saw less hair coming out.
Okay.
Because I remember when, so I have a 3-year-old daughter, right?
Oh,
She's the apple of my eye, absolute princess, right? But I remember a few months after my wife gave birth, she's like, hon, what the heck? Let's see
it's
this.
Terrible. Yeah.
Fix this. And I would tell her, look, you got to take your supplements every day. You have to use a scalp scrub. And I'd never come across scalp scrubs until maybe a year ago, and then realize how good they are for your scalp, getting rid of all the crud and cleaning up and preparing the scalp and so forth. And then you got to look at things like minoxidil, which, by the way, I mean, look, the C word, COVID. How many people have had stress-related hair loss in the last year, 18 months, whatever your time period it is? There's a fancy Latin word for it. It's called telogen effluvium. So I'm very intelligent now, and it's essentially this stress-related hair loss. Of course, we just hopefully getting out the back end of COVID, right? Then we've got people blowing each other up in Europe, and then we've got inflation. Yeah, no wonder people are losing their hair, right? So the good news is, things like minoxidil have been shown to reverse that temporary hair loss as well. So that's why I feel really good about what we're doing here. Not necessarily saving lives, but saving people's confidence. I mean, when I see testimonials of women saying, "God, I don't have to wear my hat anymore. I feel confident going out, hanging out with my friends now. Before I was like, no, maybe I'll see you next week." And it took about a bad hair day. It's like a bad hair month, and to see for women and men to feel good about themselves. In this version of Bosley that we have, without them having to go spend $10,000. I mean, it certainly works at a hair restoration clinic. It's incredible before and after results, but we're also seeing some great results from the work we're doing. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to come back to Bosley, because I wanted to, if I was going to get in bed with another brand again, I wanted to be something that really works and you could stand behind, and not just be a me too. And I think that's been very helpful and made us feel good about what we're doing.
Yeah. And you mentioned, sort of the science, the formulation behind it. Talk to me about the team, behind the products to make sure that the efficacy is there, the science is there. Walk me through that process.
Yeah. I'll take you down a trip down memory lane here a minute. Back in the day, the guy behind Redken, who was the genius there, was a guy called Dr. David Cannell. And it used to be, he was such a charismatic individual. I mean, just hilarious to work with, but his genius mind to be able to link up with marketing people. And so marketing would say, hey, I want a product that does this with this molecule and does that. And he'd be like, nah, forget that. What you need is this. And on the fast forward to today. So on the marketing side here, one of my colleagues I've worked with 4 times now, Janice Lee, she was with me at Garnier. Her and I and our brand manager, Amber Carter, who came from Henkel, we meet with the genius over at Bosley, who is Dr. Ken Washenik, and he's been ahead of various different councils and associations. He's been with Bosley for many moons. He knows intimately how the skin and hair will react with products. He went to NYU. So he's just an expert in the space. And then, of course, we also have the formulation expertise of Causeway, which is this amazing shampoo manufacturer here in Los Angeles as well. So when you combine all of that power together, what you get is just an amazing team that has all of the answers. And so we've been very happy with how we curate, collaborate, I'll give you a couple of sneak peeks. So coming out, as you saw on my LinkedIn profile, by the way, we do this thing called Thicker Hair Thursdays, which are fun. But because it kind of, and LinkedIn for me is somewhere you want to share value.
Agree.
Not just say, oh, it's my cat's birthday today, because I believe that's nice and everything, but that belongs on Facebook, right? Maybe I see LinkedIn as like, hey, I found this out. Here's something of value.
Totally. I love LinkedIn. Right? Yes.
Yeah. So I said, well, how can I be of value? How can I be of service? And so what I try to do is bring on hairdressers and experts in this world to present solutions for people who might, be interested or have a problem themselves. We all will have, at some point we're going to have an issue point with our hair.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we've been building these Thicker Hair Thursdays to talk to products and solutions. Now, this one here is, I'm going to show that up, it's a brand new product. And what we found out was, again, this one hormone called dihydrotestosterone, DHT, is the one that's most responsible for people who have alopecia, most responsible for micronizing, shrinking the hair follicle and pushing the hair out prematurely so we get thinner hair. And it's not just about the men. Men might lose it here and here, but women, as you know, it's a diffuse thing. It's the whole hair getting less dense and thinner as changes happen. So I think this is going to be great because it's going to help prevent a lot of that DHT action. It's going to help block it. That's one thing. I'll share with you one other quick story. A couple of years ago, my babysitter was over. Bleached, well, not bleached, but colored, let's say processed, fine hair to here.
Okay.
She says, you know what, who do you work with? I told her, oh, yeah, I've seen the ads on TV. What a cousin, uncle did it years ago, whatever. She says, well, I wish you could do something for my hair. So what's the problem? She says, well, I can never grow it. Can't get it down here. And so I get this stringy thing and it's not that thick anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, let me think about that. So we've generated a brand new product launch that's going to come out this summer, which basically helps I'm trying to say this the right way. Hair growth challenged individuals. but instead of trying to fix it here, we have this new option that's going to fix the hair here and make it thicker and fuller.
Interesting.
Right. And it's the name of this brand, this line extension range, if you want to call it this regimen, is called Mend Extend.
Mend Extend. All right.
And so what it does, it really helps fix those ends that tend to break and help extend the length of the hair, making it fuller.
Amazing.
And so we're super excited. And it's got this great, one of the things fine hair people have, as you know this from your hairdresser days, is I hate to weigh my hair down, right? So I think one of the most exciting ingredients in beauty right now is high hyaluronic acid. And so Amber Carter, our brand manager, found this ingredient story and now has woven it into our brand. Hyaluronic is such a moisturizing element that doesn't weigh hair down. So it's great for fine hair folks. So there's a couple of things that I'm also talking about.
Amazing.
How do we solve problems? How do we be of service without pushing all the branding and the product and the price? But simply, how do we solve a solution? Your choice if you want to buy into it, but here's how we're going about it.
Right. That's amazing. I mean, I think that, you are very engaged on LinkedIn. So anyone following, make sure to follow you as well. And I've gotten a lot of value out of that too. And it really positions you as the thought leader that you are in the hair thinning and loss category.
Thank you. We're striving to be a credible solution. And I look across, and this is not a knock, but I look across to some of the other solutions and look at some of the nasties they have in there. I had cancer about 5-6 years ago. I had a tumor in my head. And so again, one of the other things I'm is top of mind is making sure that we have an ingredient deck that is sensitive to folks, especially those who have maybe gone through had a cancer, and unfortunately it's become more prevalent in our world now. It's like 1 out of every 4 folks seem to have some kind of interaction with some kind unfortunately some kind of cancer. So we want to make sure that our formulas are clean, and that's been really important to stand behind things, not just do they work, but are they good for us as well.
Yeah. And that's such a differentiator, because when you are in a bit of that desperate cycle of like, my hair is falling out for XYZ reason, it's easy to sort of glom onto something that has a claim that it'll work, right? And not thinking of that afterthought of like, wait a second, what am I putting in on my scalp, in my body, on my hair? So definite point of differentiation. Talk to me a little bit about the different product lines and some of the things that those product lines solve for men and for women.
Yeah, great point. Now, typically we're looking at folks who have early signs of thinning.
Okay.
And there's a range of products at Bosley for those folks called Bos Defend.
Okay.
And then for folks who have more visible signs, there are products there that help combat that. And again, typically what these products are doing is removing DHT off the scalp. Proven to do that. We've done some testing with Tri-Princeton Labs that shows that our hair care removes that off. Then it's about putting the scalp in the best condition for growth and best condition for healthy follicles. One of the most magical products that is in the BosleyMD line is something called follicle energizer, because not everyone likes to put chemicals on their skin and scalp. Look, minoxidil is great, and we have the hair regrowth treatments. In fact, we have the foam treatment, which is fantastic because for the first time you can put a treatment here, and it's not going to run down your face, your eyes, and on the pillow onto your partner, maybe, right? But some people don't want to put a chemical on their skin, a drug. So this follicle energizer product is actually a botanical complex, including things like caffeine and biotin and apple stem cells that can really help bring those baby hairs back. We're seeing some of this. We're going to be putting that product into a panel soon. But again, what I like about our products is that they're tested in many ways, like our starter packs, which is where most people enter with these 3 product kits. So, kudos to Nioxin for years ago getting us onto this schedule of like, we got to buy this kit.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, good for them. But we've updated that concept in something that's a little bit more contemporary, ingredient-wise and performance-wise. So there's those type of daily situations, solutions. And then there's, like I said, these hair regrowth solutions, whether it's non-drug with this follicle energizer or with our minoxidil products, which it is going bonkers out there with hair regrowth treatments with minoxidil. People are drinking, eating, whatever you want, using a lot of these products. Again, they're the only ones, unless you're a man who can go to finasteride with a prescription, which again, it's a drug thing. So people are like, maybe not, but or go to a $10,000 hair restoration. To be able to combat that with a hair regrowth treatment like our hair regrowth product does, and our daily DHT removal is really key. Now, I will show you, it's got to be a holistic approach.
Okay.
I thought, I got to be honest, I thought this whole like supplement thing was smoke and mirrors. I really did. But when I started taking these things, it makes a big difference.
Really?
Hair and nails. I mean, when you're taking these supplements, your nails, I can only speak for me, but nails are growing faster than I'm like, what is going on? And for sure, it definitely, you're building that keratin ingredient and you're influencing the hair follicle. You're putting the ingredients into your body. We definitely see a holistic action going on between getting rid of the DHT, strengthening the hair follicle, providing with hair regrowth ingredients, and then taking the supplement as well, which, by the way, we've got some very interesting new supplement delivery systems coming. I'm not going to talk about that today, but you can see out there in the marketplace, this whole area of vitamins and supplementation has grown so much that it's really developed. And then, of course, as I said, there's also other categories that you alluded to. One of the issues, I think, with hair thinning, it's not like hair color or a styling product necessarily. You can put some color, completely change your appearance within an hour. One of the product that can do that are the magical hair fibers. And I don't have you ever used these products before, these hair fibers? It's very interesting, and especially for women.
Yes.
Right?
For my part.
Exactly. On a part, you sprinkle these things in. And
amazing.
I mean,
they literally can change from something that might look a little thinner here to like a darker part, which changes the whole appearance. So I'm a big fan, actually.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if for those who don't know, it is that they're safe to use. They're electrostatics. They stick to the hair, not the scalp. So it's not like you have dandruff.
Yeah.
It's just like they're almost invisible, but you get this appearance
It's wild.
yeah. It's very interesting. So that's kind of the core. And then, of course, I'm very excited for Men Extend coming along. I think that's going to be a whole new opportunity for women to grow their hair thicker and fuller without having to do something on their scalp necessarily. But overall, I think there's just more solutions that are coming out that we're able to provide and supply. I'm also excited about the very robust innovation stream that's coming down the pipe. One of the things that my team has now been actively doing is seeking out biotech labs to understand what is the next generation. Sounds very Star Trek-y, but it was the next generation.
Wow. It sounds like quite the team behind BosleyMD over there, and just reoccurring innovations and changes and launches. So it has to be an exciting position for you to be in, driving the brand as well.
Absolutely. And the brand's been growing. We relaunched in the middle of COVID. Grew the brand by a third, grew the brand again last year by over a third. But basically, since I've been back, we've doubled the brand in 3 years. And our plan is to do it again in the next 3 years because we think we have the ammunition to do it. Still lots of opportunity. There's a lot of food on the table, a lot of work to do. It's not going to be a cakewalk, but I think if we stay more focused on the simple concept, again, why I wanted to get involved with this was, can we provide solutions? Can we be of service? Because I think if we can be of service and provide value, then stylists and consumers will come, and the brand will just grow organically.
Have you found most of that growth, even in kind of like the pop culture or times, COVID, et cetera, and kind of that emphasis on hair loss? Have you found that this product is really a word of mouth product, or are you reaching people like direct to consumer? I know we talked about the stylist. What category are you seeing the most sort of lift in?
Yeah, when I look around our revenue streams, we have a pretty balanced stock portfolio. When I think about it, I mean, we have a robust salon business, we have a robust Amazon business, and also home shopping and other channels like Ultra and so forth, also doing very well. Now, not shocking to know that social media is a key driver. Yeah, it is difficult though with this category. Because pardon the it's probably not going to sound right, but it's this is almost like the female version of ED for men.
Yeah, I mean, there's a regulation and guidelines, for sure.
And it's scary. I mean, people don't want to always be on social media saying, "Oh my God, I'm losing my hair." I mean, not really, unless it is like I said, an influencer. There was this lady, Jeannie Mai, who is a Asian TV celebrity, and also very big on social media. Has a YouTube with her mom and a TikTok herself, and I think in other channels. But she went through postpartum, and it was highlighting that. And I think there are a lot of key influencers that when they go through it, they're like, "Oh wow, now I need to talk about it." On a daily basis. It's maybe not so visual, not so current. But it's at least those individuals, because they're in a place of influence, they can feel probably more confident to talk about it. Whereas most of us that are not in the public eye are probably more unlikely to take pictures of ourselves and say, "Oh my God, I got a problem."
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, because why do we want to broadcast that? Right. So I think that's interesting and great to see that you're seeing that kind of even portfolio of growth across the board, and congratulations on that growth. That's absolutely phenomenal.
Well, and again, like the mainstay, I came back to when I pulled the new, because we hired a brand new team almost here too. And we said, hey, let's write our mission statement together. Cool. How we ended up saying, hey, we are the global thinning hair authority, providing women and men with comprehensive solutions, and that was as simple as it gets for us. So what we're focused on now is the gain. what is the gain that women and men are seeing? Not just to be the thinning hair solution, but what is the positive end of the funnel that they're receiving out of using our products, and then how do we align with that and publicize it? And because then it truly does become a word of mouth. I was talking to a mentor of mine recently who was saying that he bumped into one of his mentors at an airport recently, and he said, and his mentor said, you know, you're doing the same thing as me. The only difference is I've sold 25 million books. People know me, my name more than you, but you're going to get there. When you get published, awesome. You'll become, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Well, wonderful. It's been so great having you and hearing about all of the innovation that has been done and clearly is upcoming in the next year or two.
Thank you, Kelly. Very exciting.
It's great. I love your passion too. I mean, I can see it's there, and to think that the products are making a difference in so many people's lives has got to be truly rewarding at the end of the day, right? You're not just selling a hairspray that's certainly making people feel good, but you're changing their confidence. So that's amazing. So now we're to a little section we like to call the T's Quick Takes. And I think we're going to have some fun. So I'm going to toss some questions out to you, and then happy for you to just fire back whatever you think. So the first one is, what is a quote that you love?
God, there are so many. I mean, I'm a big follower of Wayne Dyer. I think he was such a genius. Well, and I'm talking like a little post because he passed away a few years ago, but he's still alive in many ways. But you know what? I think my favorite quote is, "It is done to you as you believe." And of course, this is not necessarily a spiritual connotation, although it did apparently allegedly go back to, I think it was a quote of Jesus, but I think it's done to you as you believe, because that is where it all starts. If you walk out the day and say, I'm going to have a crappy day, and it probably is going to happen. And but if you lay out your goals and you say, okay, I aspire to achieve and be and do and so forth, then it can happen. You know, I was sitting in England 30 odd years ago, twiddling my thumbs saying, oh, what shall I do next? This airport thing's not working out. And here we are. I'm so lucky to be, working with such a great group of people.
Yeah. What a career. What was your last Google search?
Yeah, well, probably your website, actually. I was looking at Sam Villa. I've known Sam a number of years.
I love Sam.
Yeah, what a great guy. I knew him from back in the Redken days. And
wow.
And then, of course, his own tool line. We'd bump into each other, compare things. But I was actually listening to a little bit of that. So that was probably that. But of course, my mainstay, of course, is every day. My home website is always plugged into bbc.com.
Okay, all right. Can't get the BBC out. Got to stay current over there, right?
Exactly.
What is the cringiest trend that you have ever tried?
Oh man, for a summer or two. I don't remember, but probably it was about, around the turn of the millennium.
Yep.
God, 22 years ago.
That is wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Don't you remember it like it was yesterday, how we thought the internet was literally going to just like shut down?
Yeah.
Like the power grids, like we were like, is it going to happen?
And I bet you had an AOL account, right? I mean, we all
totally did. I had a Hotmail. I still have my Hotmail account.
Right. But to answer your question, I had the whole, there was a trend in England with all the soccer players. I had the complete bleach blonde hair for a couple of years. And I remember it was the head of education at Wella at the time did it for me the first time, Paul Smith, great guy. Right. And he bleached my hair and it went orange. And he's like, he said, that was meant to happen. So I had to bleach it a few more times to get it more like a banana color or something like that. And so that lasted about, I think, a summer or two. And I was like, oh man, I can't do this anymore. Hair was like straw. It was like falling out,
Oh yeah. Yeah. We've all done it. Right. And we've learned our lesson. What animal are you most like?
Well, I'll let you into a secret. I spent some time in Peru a few years ago with the shamans, and they very much into They're very much of the mythology and their
Wow.
relationship with animals. They have different directions on what they call the medicine wheel. They talk about people in the South, being like a snake, and people about shedding their skin, and people in the West and being more feminine, and people in the North being associated with the hummingbird and manifesting life and goods and so forth. And then so my teacher at the time says, you're a very East person. You're like the condor. You like to see the big picture, but you need clarity on the twig and the branch and the small side of the forest, not just the canopy. So I probably that eagle condor vision, having vision at the top level, but also the detail.
Which I'm sure makes you a wonderful person to work for and a great leader of a brand that's innovating, because you can see the forest and you can see the trees.
You'll have to ask my team that. They may not agree with you.
Okay, what is one product that you cannot live without that's not a BosleyMD product?
Gosh, in hair care years ago, it used to be, I think, probably American Crew pomade. But in skincare, it's probably either marula oil or, again, high hyaluronic acid. My wife went and got that CeraVe moisturizer. It's actually really good. I've been using a lot of that as well. But so there are a couple of my beauty hacks.
Okay, I like it. And the last one is, what is the advice for those who want to make it to the top of our industry?
A few years ago, I'll tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was interviewing for a job, a decent job, and I thought I had all my ducks in a row, did all my research, sat with the recruiter the night before going across the street to the office to interview, and she said, Ian, it all sounds good. She said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I was like, where's she going with this? She's like, you really need to talk half as much. I was like, and my ego was like, boom. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what is you? And I was like, God. But I tell you what, a couple of things. So yes, earlier in my career, I wish I'd probably shut up more and listened more, because that teaches you to be not just respectful, but you can be opportunistic, and you can grow and listen and grow fast and the rest. Get a mentor. And I don't just mean having one on the resume to check off, but actually having a mentor that you can have a set monthly schedule with and check in with and review your questions, and not just from an IQ point of view, but today, of course, very in vogue to have an EQ side, because we all need someone to vent to about different things in our world. So I think a mentor is absolutely critical. And the one thing that has really helped, I think, for me, even in this stage of my career, is to be part of a leadership group of similar peers, because you're dealing with similar issues. So maybe that really works even at other levels, is if you're in a group of similar, like-minded, similar stages, then you can really grow together. So that'd be my 3 would be to listen more, speak less, get a mentor, and be involved in a group of some sort that keeps you on track.
I love that. And to your first point, there's sort of a mantra that I live by, and it's to be the most interested person in the room instead of the most interesting. So that goes back to 2 ears, 1 mouth, and to listen and to be curious. And so well thought out 3 points for our audience to listen to. So where can we find BosleyMD if we're sold, we're going to need to get some? Where can we head? Where can we follow you on social?
Sure. Well, first of all, if you want to buy product, go to your salon, or go to one of the places. I mean, you can Google us and you can find many different about avenues. If you want to find out more information, you can certainly look us up on TikTok, or you can look us up on Instagram or Facebook. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn, so people can DM me directly and I'll answer your questions. Hey, you know what? Maybe I'll offer one of these. Some of your listeners can check out this new DHT blocker if they DM me. So that's the best place to stay in touch with us there, especially if it's a business person listening to this. Then definitely sign up for Thicker Hair Thursdays. Listen to us on Thursdays.
you're gonna drop all the knowledge all of the Thursdays. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I learned so much, certainly about you and your wonderful career, as well as BosleyMD. We will be cheering you on from the sidelines as all of your new product innovations launch.
Thank you, Kelly. Be well, and really appreciate the opportunity to you and your team.